Hello and welcome, everybody. My name is Pernilla Helmersson, and today I'm here to interview Heather Nichols. And welcome to this hangout, Being You, Being Who? 5 ways to know that you're not being you. And I have the pleasure to interview Heather, and she has been in business since 1997. Her business is changing life all over the world, both in person and online globally. She's been working with so many different modalities, and she is now a Joy of Business facilitator. She's an Access Consciousness facilitator, and she's a Being You facilitator. And that is what we will be talking about today. So hey, and welcome, Heather.
Hey, thank you.
So,
looking forward to the conversation.
Yeah, me too. There's so many points of view out there about being you. Some of them say you search to find yourself and then you hold on to who you think you are, or a little bit confusion about like being you. Do you want to talk more about what it is for you about being you in the world?
Yeah. I would say for me, one of the things that it seems so simple, but it took me quite a while to realize is that when I'm being me, there's just a lot of ease in my world. It's like being me is actually the easiest thing in the world for me. And being something that's not me actually requires a lot of work and effort, sometimes struggle, sometimes just, I think because a lot of times with the conversation of being you, like being more of you in the world, it's like we have so many ideas about what that is. And sometimes those ideas actually start to shape how we show up rather than just being like this space of like, oh, well, here I am. And, who am I today? And what grand and glorious adventures can I have? To me, that's more a match for the energy of being you or being me, where, it's this constant space of play, of ease, of question, of contribution. So
yeah, it's a constant creation of who you be in every moment instead of this finding who you are.
yeah, exactly. It's not like, because you aren't even definable or defined, even though we think we are, like with our bodies and the lives that we've created and what we like and all of those things. All of those things can change, and yet there is this, like the being that has been around for a very, very long time, much longer than the body, and that actually has this really unique energy and unique awareness. And it's not something that you can put your finger on, but it is something that you can be really curious about and play with and expand and explore even more.
Right. And you talked about like when we're being you, we're usually being ease, like it's easy. But sometimes in our lives, it's not just easy. And one of the tools in Access is who are you being? And I love that question because it kind of pinpoint that I might not be me right now. Do you want to talk more about that tool?
Yeah, well, who are you being? Who are you being is such a great question. And it actually is, and you can ask that of yourself, like, who am I being? And like right now I'm being a mom because I have a kid who's interrupting me. Can you please stop?
He doesn't know where my phone is though.
I don't know where it is either. I'm gonna have to help you when we're done. I'm gonna have to help you when we're done. Sorry, honey.
Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you, everybody, Heather is a super mom too.
Yeah, that's always a given. It's so funny. It's like every time I tell my kids not to interrupt me, they do. I should really just start to tell them to interrupt me.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because then I go into like, oh my gosh, this is like this thing and he's interrupted, so it's like, and being a mom is part of, I mean, it's part of my life. It's part of my being. But even that doesn't define me. And yet it's also part of my world and part of who I be, and to get to play with my kids and all of that. And it is actually something that can take us so, like, I know for me, that's actually been even the topic of parenting is huge. Like being you as a parent is such a huge one, because it really truly, for me, it's just been this constant, like seeking of, just, I'm getting really distracted again. I don't know where it is. I don't actually know where it is. I'm going to have to look for it, and I can't actually stop what I'm doing right now. I hear you, and I can't look for it right now. Okay. I can't actually, Jaden. I'm sorry.
Conscious parenting in action. Love it. And you talked about like being a parent, and that does not define you. Can you talk more about like how it's pretty common that you define yourself and then you live off of that definition? Like, I'm a mom, I'm a sister, I'm a whatever it is.
Yeah, and there's this, it's like we put so much pressure on ourselves around that, and it's like how to be a good mom, and how to be like the right, good, perfect, and correct parent or child or sister or partner or whatever it is. And it actually doesn't, it's such a limitation of who we be. And we can't actually, we don't get to even have access. Like, we actually have so many judgments that come up around what is the right thing that we're supposed to be and supposed to do, that we don't get to actually have access to what is true for us. And so one of the things too is actually a great question, is what's actually true for me? What's true for me right now? And it might not be something that seems politically correct or like the right thing to do. Like, as a mom, like what was true for me as a mom was so not what I thought I was supposed to do and be as a mom. It was like, and that was such a struggle for me for so long, where I just kept like sort of thinking there was something wrong with me because I didn't want to be home with my kids all the time, all day long, every single day. Like, that wasn't something, like there was just this huge desire to create in the world that I wasn't able to really, to be, and and which is such a part of my being. Like, creation is such a huge part of my being. And I wasn't able to be that. And I wasn't allowing myself to choose that. And so for the very first, I don't know, number of years as a parent, I was very, I was frustrated, and I wasn't having very much fun in my life. And so I started creating more, and actually one of the biggest things was I got out of judgment of what actually was true for me as a mom that I hadn't acknowledged before. And it was something that actually in this reality carries a lot of judgment. It was like, I'm not at all what I thought I would be as a mom. Parenthood and motherhood for me looks nothing like I thought it would. And I had to get over the judgment of that and the judgment of me in order to actually give myself the space to be that.
Yeah, that's a vital part that you mentioned there too, that you got out of judgment, because like you said, there's quite a few judgment on how to be a mom and not to be a mom. And yeah, it's just amazing to hear you talk about that. And I think a lot of moms feel that way, that they have to live up to this definition of being a perfect mom. And it just seems like it gets so heavy and dense and solidified when you try to live up to those judgments. So do you have any more tips on how to get out of that judgment and to be more of you?
Yeah, I mean, I would say this is such a simple one, but have fun. Like, start actually having fun and choosing, and even getting curious about what that is for you. Because that's I get that that's really easier said than done. But if you can get curious about what it is to, like, sort of like how much fun, like, well, okay, there's a couple things. One is, what is actually fun for you? So it's like, what's true for you, what's fun for you. That's part of a similar energy there. Then you actually, like, if you're choosing things in your life that expand your joy, then it creates so much more in your world, and you'll be able to be more present with everybody in your life. You'll be able to be more present with your children, with your partner, or your friends, or your family, or your business, like everything that you're doing. If you're enjoying your life and choosing things every day that feel fun for you, then it's an expansion of your being and your access to your being, that just, it's like this, we just strengthen that space more and more all the time, where we're being more of us all the time. And then we get to have access to it even more. So.
Wow, yeah, that's such a yummy part to ask, just like, what is joyful for me, and start exploring. Because when you're joyful, it's harder to slip into all of that judgment. So I love that tip.
Well, and also I just wanted to say really quick, what's fun for you may not actually be what you think is fun for you, which is why it's so great to be curious about it, rather than go, oh, well, what's fun for me is this. It's like, I wonder what actually is fun for me. If I was truly being me, what would be fun? What would be joyful?
Exactly, because that's also so many definitions here that, oh, it's supposed to be fun to go out and get drunk, or it's supposed to be fun to do nothing and watch, you know. So I love that, just to keep exploring and even get out of that definition what you decided you think is fun, and start exploring what is fun for you. Yeah. I love that so much. And also we named this hangout 5 ways to know that you're not being you. Maybe we nibbled on those already, but Heather, do you have any more you want to talk about? Any other tips?
Well, we could sort of turn everything around. When you're not having fun, you're not being you.
Yeah, as a given. Yeah.
Yeah. When you're stressed out, you're not being you. Being you to me is one of the greatest stress relief and that there is. It's like, when you are being you, there's a relaxation and a space of possibility in your world that is so dynamic, and it is the space of there isn't, like, stress doesn't exist in that space. So if you're stressed out, you're not being you in some way. Like, you might be being you in certain areas, but if there's any stress in your world, where, like, how much more of you could you be? How much more relaxed could you be? And yeah, so that's another. What else have we talked about? I mean, there's just so many. I'm like 5. We have like 25.
No, but that's a good, awesome start. That you're not being you when you're stressed, and what I love about when you are being you, what that creates for me is that you invite me to be more me. And it's such an amazing invitation into the world that just being here with you right now is relaxing, and it is ease, and it is possibilities like you talked about. And when you're willing to be you and present and vulnerable with your creation or whatever it is you're doing, it just creates so much more ease and space. And it's just such an amazing invitation that we are being in the world when we're choosing to be us.
It is. And that, I guess, I would say that's another, is that when you're not having ease in your relationships, like if there's drama or trauma or problems or something going on in a relationship, chances are there's somewhere that you're not being you. And so you can start to look at, okay, well, if I was being me here with this person or with this situation, what would I be? What would I choose? What could I be more of? And because one of the things I see so much with people is it's almost like we feel like we can't be us in relationships, because, like, so many people are so afraid to choose that space and to be that space because they don't want to hurt other people. They don't want to be judged by other people. They don't want to make other people feel inferior. Like, if you're willing to be great, if you're willing to be the greatness of you, oftentimes people stop themselves from that because they don't want to make other people feel bad. Other people who may not be currently choosing that. But as Pernilla was saying, it's like, what if that, when you are being more of you, and you're actually willing to say no if something doesn't work for you, you're willing to say yes when something does work for you, or you're willing to receive when people contribute to you, things like that. What if that is an invitation for you to actually be so much more of an invitation for other people to be themselves as well?
Yeah, and I guess that's another one, when you're not being you, when we put up barriers and we try to protect ourselves. compared to what you were talking about, like barriers down and being you and being willing to receive. That's a biggie when you're being you, to be willing to receive instead of pushing everything out.
Yeah, and that's actually a really, I want to share that as a tool as well, that when you're interacting with somebody, if you notice your barriers go up like walls, or you sort of brace yourself or whatever, or you're just thinking a lot because the mind is a barrier. When you notice that happening, like you can actually push your barriers down. Like you can ask your barriers to drop. And part of one way that you can create ease with that is actually by relaxing your body and just allowing your barriers to drop, or literally pushing them down. And when you do that, you actually have greater access to you. You have greater space. You're a greater invitation. You're less of a threat to people. You will probably perceive new possibilities for whatever it is that you're dealing with and whoever it is that you're dealing with. You'll have more awareness. It's amazing what gets created in that space. And the willingness to have vulnerability and to be wrong actually can create like just so many possibilities in relationships. Because it's very rare that someone's willing to put down their guard first. And if you're willing to do that and you're willing to be that, it opens up the space for the other person to do the same and for so much more to show up.
Yeah, that's a magic tool, and you're just like giving away so many tools here. So I get that you can watch this hangout over and over again and just find more and more nuggets, because we're kind of just swishing over them. Maybe we'll get back to some of them. There's just so much brilliant stuff being said here right now. And yeah, and what I'm hearing from all of this is also like what we talk about in Access, that everything is the opposite of what it appears to be. Both with like when we put up barriers, we think we protect ourselves, and when we're not willing to be us, we're actually doing other people a favor. But it's actually the other way around, and it becomes so much clearer now when we talk about it too, that everything is the opposite of what it appears to be, right?
Yeah, it is. It really is. And it just is the willingness to choose that, to be like, this is really uncomfortable, but I'm going to put my barriers down and see what happens, you know?
Yeah, because the barriers doesn't know, like if you put up barriers, it doesn't know that you still want money. You just put up barriers to everything, you know, you can't just do that. So that's how it works.
Right.
And what was that? Yeah, I can hear people's thoughts and feel it like, can it be this easy to just ask a question? And I can hear people like go looking for answers. Is this me? Is this me? But it's not about getting an answer, right? You want to talk about more asking a question and receive the awareness instead of an answer?
Yeah, well, being you is a space of curiosity and wonder, really. It's like when you are being you, you don't need to have the answers. You don't need to know how. You don't need to get it right, which is so much of how we eliminate that space in our worlds is by actually, you know, thinking that we have to figure things out and know how we're going to create things and what's going to happen and what we need to ask for and all that. And you're just engaging your mind when you're doing that. And your mind is a barrier. When your mind is spinning, you're not being you. So there's another way to know when you're not being you is when you're thinking. When you're thinking a lot, you're not being you. And so, I'm like, I lost my train of thought.
Yeah, and another tool for thinking a lot is access bars.
Yes, totally. Yes, which deletes your brain.
Yeah.
But yeah, so oh my gosh, then I had it and then I lost it again.
That's what happens when you don't have a brain. How does it get any better than that?
It's so true. Yeah, I was just talking about how when you use your mind, well, so I must be being me right now because I'm not thinking.
Exactly. Learning by doing.
And it is also having allowance for you. Like that's, you know, that's one of the 5 elements of intimacy and access consciousness is allowance and vulnerability, both of which we've talked about here. And when you have allowance for you, it's like nothing can really, it's like you're not in judgment of you and nothing can really, you know, ruffle your feathers too much. If you be that space with you, for you, there's a lot that can open up in your world, and just that space of being, you have, like, that is part of the space of being you, is the allowance. So
right, and when you have allowance for yourself, you can't have judgment coexisting with
right.
that. So that's an awesome way to eliminate judgment. So, like, how, I know it's just a choice to choose more allowance, but how can you, do you have any tips on how to, for people to get there, to have more allowance for themselves?
Yeah. Well, our handy dandy POC and POD tool is great for that. So in Access Consciousness, we have the clearing statement, which is right, wrong, good, bad, all nine, POC, POD, shorts, boys, and beyonds. And so that is a really, like, super easy way to clear judgments, because when you have judgments coming up, you can just literally say to yourself, everything this is, all the judgments that this is, I'm going to POC and POD it. Right, wrong, good, bad, all nine, or destroy and uncreate it. Right, wrong, good, bad, all nine, POC, POD, shorts, boys, and beyonds. And it works so well. And the bars as well, which just also removes a lot of the judgments and increases your receiving. The Access Consciousness bars, which is a hands-on body process that deletes a lot of unconsciousness from the mind. And then I would say also choice, which is the other big tool, which is just literally, it's like, what if you could just try on not judging you for even 5 minutes or 10 minutes or half hour or half a day? Try it on and see what happens. Like, one of the things I do when I go into judgment of me is I flip it. Like, I flip it 180 degrees, and it's like, okay, cool. So what's right about me I'm not getting? If this wasn't a wrongness, what strongness would it be? Because most often we are actually judging the things that are great about us. And what if you didn't? What if you could actually, as soon as a judgment came up, go, oh, I must be aware of one of my capacities. I'm going to flip this and get curious about what that is.
I love that. Your wrongness is your strongness. I wonder how much more you guys can explore about that. Wow. And also being you, Heather, I can hear people think like, oh, it's easy to be me when I'm all by myself, but when I'm around family or my friends or some certain people, it's harder to be me. Do you have any tips and tools with that, with more ease with that?
Yeah, I would say the POC and POD is awesome. The bars are awesome. Choice is awesome. And really, actually, like, what if when you're around family and you're aware of their judgments, and they might even be judging you, or, you know, we just came out of the holidays, so I'm saying family, but it could be anything around other people. You might be aware of their judgments of themselves and their judgments of you. What if you didn't have to go into judgment, and you could actually be the one who was the space of allowance of, hey, interesting point of view, you have that point of view, interesting point of view, I have this point of view. And really just be, because it's that same thing of like, when you lower your barriers first, it's almost like being the first one to put the sword down. Then you open up a space of possibility for everybody else around you that is incredibly dynamic. And there's some amazing change that can occur. And, you know, if you have more ease, greater ease being alone than being with other people, there's nothing wrong with that either. I mean, there's nothing wrong with any of this. You know, I love being by myself. And so I also get that that's part of what I require. And I have created my life in such a way where I do have alone time. And yet I also I'm always asking for greater ease and being around other people, and, you know, like the stuff that seems kind of triggering and not as easy. You know, it's what if we could have ease and we could have ourselves wherever we go and whatever situations we're in.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. I love everything you just said. Like, interesting point of view. I have this point of view. It's an amazing tool. And then also what you said is taking us back to allowance. Like, what is working for me? Does it work for me to be with my family 1, 2, 3 days? I know Gary Douglas, the founder of Access, says like, family and fish goes bad after 3 days.
Yeah.
So just be brutally honest with you and see what works for you is an amazing tool in itself.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. And we have, so I am a Being You facilitator, and I do 1-day Being You classes. And Dr. Dane here also does 3.5-day Being You classes, which are both amazing. There's Being You facilitators all over the world. And I believe you can go to beingyouclass.com and look for those classes. And also on my website, heathernichols.com, for the 1-day Being You class, where we really get to dive into these types of conversations, but really that stem from your own questions about what's up in your life and what's going on in your world. And are you looking at stuff, with your kids or with a relationship or with business? It's like we cover lots of different areas, and we really, because this really is a conversation that gets woven into everything. My point of view is when you're being you, you actually get to create the life that you're asking for. And so it really is, to me, it's a foundational conversation for anything that you're asking to have more of in your life, whether it's money or business or ease or a change with your body or a happier relationship or any of those things, like the big things that people ask for more of or a change with. When you're being you, you get to have more of all of that. You're receiving more, you're creating more, your capacities are expanded, and there's just a sense of ease and creation in your world that is super inspiring. So
yeah, I love that we're having this conversation, because it is, like you say, that wide, and it is the people that are coming to the classes that kind of, with their question, is creating their class and like deciding what areas to focus on. So you are the one like also creating the class, which means like every class is going to be different.
yeah.
And I know you have one coming up a whole day in Seattle in January, right?
I do, January 29th, and so that's a 1-day class in Seattle, January 29th, 2017. And we also have a Being You with Business class in Hawaii, on Maui, on the beach, March 2nd through the 5th. So it's a 1-day Being You class on March 2nd. March 3rd is a 1-day Joy of Business class. And then March 4th and 5th is a 2-day Joy of Business class. And you can take them separately. You can take all 4 days together. And we're literally going to be seeing whales, and like the classroom where we're going to be is directly on the beach. So it's pretty exciting. I'm really looking forward to that. So I believe you can.
That doesn't sound any yummy at all.
I know. So that one is heathernichols.com/Hawaii. And you can just look at my website for all the stuff that I have going on. You might be seeing this video after the fact. So heathernichols.com/schedule will give you all of my classes and where I'm going to be in the world. And
yeah, I wonder what it would create for your life and living in business if you did all of those classes in Hawaii. I just love the energy of Hawaii and the animals. And it's really like, some people say it's like the heartbeat of the earth, and it's just like so special and so beautiful there. I just love it.
Yeah. It's pretty delicious there. So I'm excited to go back. I've been there and teaching classes a bunch of times, and it's one of my favorite places. So yeah. Cool.
And talking about now we're being after the holidays and everything, and a lot of people are feeling poor because they spend a lot of money on their Christmas gifts. So do you want to talk more about Being You with money too? Might be fun.
Yeah. Before we wrap up, we can toss a little money tool out there. Well, I would just say, again, if you're not enjoying what you're doing and what you're creating in your life, you're probably not going to be the greatest invitation for money to come into your world. Money does follow joy. And it's not that you can have joy once you have money. It actually is the opposite. It's that when we are a space of being, we're a space of joy, we're a space of ease, of possibility, of creation, money actually wants to come to our party. And I've seen this, like, I remember I used to be like, oh, I love that. I really wish that could be true. It sounds great, And I can say for me, it's totally been true, and it is true, and it's even more true all the time. Like, the more I'm willing to step into that space, and I've seen so many people choose more of that, like what lights them up and being themselves and the joy, and have so much more money show up in their worlds. Actually, this is so fun. I just got a note this morning from somebody who took a foundation class with me 4 years ago. And she said, in the past 4 years, my money, she just did like a accounting of all of her assets. And she said, my money has increased 15 times what it was 4 years ago.
Wow.
I was like, how does it get better than that? And I'm sure that she, like, what I can say, because I know this woman, that she's also happier, having more fun, loving what she's up to. Like, her whole life and her whole world has expanded really dynamically too. So how does it get better than that?
Exactly. And if you're curious about the Joy of Business, you're actually having a free Joy of Business taster soon too, that is live streamed all around the world, and you can come to Heather's house even if you're in the neighborhood.
Yeah, January 13th, it's going to be a little party, and we're going to live stream it in Colorado. We'll be in Colorado. And then we're doing a Joy of Business class on the 20th and 22nd of January as well. That's also going to be live streamed all over the world. So if you'd like to take a class with me and you can't come to Seattle and you can't come to Hawaii, this is the only class at this in the next, I don't know, at least at this point, probably for a lot of the year, that I'm going to be live streaming.
Yeah.
So,
and I don't think there's a lot of people out there that want to, double their income by 15 times. So you better not come.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's been amazing talking to you, Heather. Do you have anything else you want to add before we wrap up?
Oh, just really, truly, like, this might all sound like too good to be true or lofty or, like, oh, that's great, but that could never work. But it's like, my take on it is, if your life isn't working for you how it is right now, like, not just working for you, but if your life isn't ridiculously fun and joyful and an adventure of creation, like, it could be, then you kind of have nothing to lose than to just start to play with these tools. Ask more questions, be more curious. Choose things that are more fun for you. See how much more relaxation you can add into your world. How vulnerable are you willing to be? How much allowance are you willing to have? How much are you willing to create? And just and see what shows up. See what changes. See if, even if you have a greater sense of ease in your world, to me, that's worth everything. So, yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I love that. And to everybody that are curious about the Being You facilitators, I would also highly recommend you to add yourself to a Facebook group, which they just created, which is Being You in...
It's the year
of Being You.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And there you can play with all the Being You tools and check out all the facilitators and just play how much originally you want.
Yeah, it's a super cool group. Just lots of cool questions and conversations, and oh my gosh, it's been amazing. It's only a few days old and it's been amazing so far. So
I know it's amazing to watch people's videos and tools and everything. So that's a tip for everybody out there. And thank you so much, Heather. And you can just contact us if you have any questions at all, and we're here for you guys.
Yeah, thank you so much. Have a good one.
Bye.